Hello, welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Newman. Thank you for being here. Today I've got a fascinating topic and I hope to share a lot of information in relation to ancestral healing, collective paradigms, karmic inheritance, energetic imprints that our bodies could be holding, and all of these I feel are connected to the father and mother wounding patterns of behaviours that have been experienced for many of us in this lifetime. So I do find it fascinating. Fascinating, one, because I just love this human evolution journey. I find it fascinating how our bodies are created, how everything just plays in this world, but it's not always fun. When we're experiencing these challenging experiences, as what had led me to do this video. So as a therapist or a counsellor, I was noticing a common theme for many people, their experiences, the traumas, the hurts, the pains that have played out in their lives from either a male perspective or from the female's perspective. But yet, these were all connected to the father and mother wounding pains or patterns. And so, interestingly, I found by witnessing these experiences, it was also activating within me my own traumas, which obviously had to be addressed, and they were, and they have. Um, and and because I have pinpointed actually some of the core conscious learnings for myself, because that's something that I want to talk about today, core conscious learnings or life lessons. These are actually being activated in all of us. And so I hope to speak to you today from the most authentic place, most truthful place, to bring you just my shared learnings. They're just my perspectives. What I say doesn't mean is true. And so please take everything with a grain of salt and find what is true for you. So why are many of us experiencing similar, or as I called it, common humanity, shared experiences? Well, it's because we are going through a planetary shift at the moment. It's a shift of our human evolution, human consciousness, where we are to clear and change the many collective paradigms that have been playing out for thousands of years that are just no longer serving us. Well, I know they're no longer serving me. And so I have delved into bringing a lot of information forth on ancestral healing and so forth, as I've just mentioned. This information, when I was bringing it all together, it does feel complex in parts to try to express or bring across, but I also find it's quite simple as well. It's definitely hard to understand or comprehend from our linear mind sense within this 3D consciousness that we're vibrating within. Yet we are being challenged to move out of this density, this low level of consciousness, so that we can think differently, be differently, do differently, live differently in this world from a much higher perspective, from a higher level of consciousness. And so to walk the path of human evolution, to raise one's consciousness, all this density that is showing up in our lives has to go, because we can't take it with us. We can't take the low vibrational energetic imprints, being all the thoughts, the emotions, behaviors that we have been playing out so far. We can't take it with us into a higher consciousness and reality, because in higher levels of consciousness and fields of reality, polarity and duality and paradigms do not exist, because it's vibrating from frequencies of pure love and pure joy, compassion, and so forth. that is the existence that we're being encouraged to move into. And so this would be a reason as to why also many of us had incarnated at this specific time on earth, so that we can let go of the energetic imprints. But I think it's also the collective energetic imprints and paradigms that we have believed to be true all of this time. So it's to help to remove all of this so that we can upgrade as a collective, and we have to do it we have to do it individually so we can do it collectively, as in collectively then alter our reality that this world is vibrating in. So some of us more than others also would have put our hands up to be light workers, to help others on their journey through all of this. And with that, we will have certain life sentence, life sentence, feels like a life sentence, sometimes life lessons. We have certain life lessons. We probably have potentially more challenging life lessons to move through. And I see these, or I've seen these termed as a soul's core conscious learnings. So for all of this to happen, we have written and agreed to a soul contract. And so here we are. So to bring you this topic as authentically as I can, sharing my perspectives and that of others, with all of the all surrounding ancestral lineage, karmic cycles, DNA, Akashic records and paradigms and past lives. Like, it's vast. And this is where I feel why it's complex, because it's just an ever ongoing journey of learning. The more you sort of delve into this, it becomes easier to understand. But there are layers and layers to this. So I'm excited to share what I can share with you. And please know that it is a common shared experience for many of us, so you're not alone. So some of us souls, well, actually all of us souls, we actually do choose all of the experiences that we wish to experience in our lifetimes. But some of us have chosen these experiences to be played out within the father-son, father-daughter, mother-son, mother-daughter roles. And so these being our experiences with these people that we have chosen, these will be our core life lessons that we're wanting to resolve and master in this lifetime. I hope I explained that correctly. So let's get started, shall we? I will refer to some of my notes so I can stay on track. That was an 8-minute intro, okay? Oh, buckle down, maybe go grab a cup of tea. All right, I'll get serious now. So what is a core conscious learning? That's a good place to start. A core conscious learning. Well, as souls, we agreed with our soul contract to come into this life with some core conscious learnings to master. So as I've just said, many of us put our hands up to be light workers. So that means we're doing things for ourselves, but we're also doing here to do stuff to help humanity. And then all of us would have come most definitely with our individual purpose, life lessons, to be navigated. So in writing up our soul contract, we agreed to work with a handful of certain people that will help us on this journey to do this, to master this. And often, most often, these chosen souls are going to be more often than not souls that are within our soul group. So we do come from a soul group. So we belong to a soul group. Some of the names of these soul groups are called the loving ones, the indigos, the rainbow and crystal soul groups. Some of the people will know that, these names, these soul groups, and some of us, you probably haven't heard this before. And that's okay, because this is your learning. You have to start somewhere, right? I didn't understand all this either. Go back 7 years. So the people, we choose certain people that we will be contracted to in this lifetime. And most definitely these people then are our family members and siblings. But there will be others that we have contracted to that will come into our life somewhere along our life journey. And that will be, for my understanding, is for two reasons. They will either be activating more of our life lessons, or they're actually here just to support us through a specific time, a specific thing that we might be moving through. Everything's planned. So, and with me saying that, these souls that we do meet somewhere along our path, I just want you to reflect for a moment, because I know this is true for me. Have you ever noticed when some of these people come into our lives that you just feel like you're deeply connected with them? A lot of us think that they're our twin flames, but I think there's a lot of that's misinterpreted. That these souls are twin flames. I believe they're just souls that we've either had a past life with, that we have an energetic imprint with them from the experiences that we had. They could have been even traumatic experiences, but also they were probably written into our contract to work through our life lessons. And I'll explain the energetic imprints as we sort of move along, but we do feel that we know them. We feel like we've had a lifetime with them. I know that to be true for me. Probably with only one person really in my lifetime so far. I would believe that to be true. The other person that I feel, so maybe two, because I'm going to give an example in a second. There's probably two people. There's another person that I knew that I felt connected with. So going back to my question, have you ever noticed that some people we meet, like we have always known them, or we're connected to them, we just feel like you can't pinpoint it, but there's something there, and there's something, I guess, that maybe needs to be navigated with them. So these souls that we do bump into, they're not by chance, they are planned. And so the example that I want to share with you was when I was grieving. So I had not actually worked for well over a year supporting my son. I had to quit my job because I needed to be with him 24/7. And so I actually went back into a completely, yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, okay, I just forgot about that. But anyway, so what I'd done is I hadn't been working for well over a year, so I was getting back into new work, a new workplace. And so the person that I came across in that, I was 3 months down the path of my grieving. I needed to get back to work to sort of, I guess, in some ways, numb out and just try to get back into life. But this person, as I sit here today and look back, this person most definitely was actually to help me move through my grief. They made it a little bit easier. They brought me joy. We had some good times together. She was amazing. And we really deeply connected, actually, on a spiritual level. This has actually even activated some of my spiritual path, because she had sort of already been well and truly down that path. And so I was fascinated with what she was learning. I was open to learning so much. And so, yeah, but that journey was only short. It was only for about, I think, 2 or 3 years. And we didn't sort of depart like because we had a falling out or anything. We just kind of went our own way. And that's what happens. Souls will come in and they'll be a beautiful addition to our life, because they'll bring us joy and happiness. And literally, she supported me because she was one person that actually did listen to my grief story, so to speak. And that's essential when you're grieving, to be able to share your story with someone who gets you, who can sit in those moments. So anyway, moving on. So she was a beautiful soul that assisted me actually just for my grief. And so these people that we are contracted to in our life, particularly our family members, we agree to help each other with our life lessons. So in that contract, when we've planned all these people that we're going to meet, what actually happens is that codes get written up. So this is the contract. Codes get written up. They're actually stored within our DNA, so that when we meet these people, immediately these codes, the life lessons that have been written in codes, put into our DNA, get activated. And it will activate within both of us. And there's something for us to see. There's something for us to learn and to know. This person's going to help us. And so that's kind of how it works. The contract is all the light codes that get lodged into your DNA. And then when we cross these paths with these souls, something activates within us, and it's like this inner knowing. And then we start navigating this journey. But often we get lost in that journey. And it's because we're living in a 3D reality. So we activate in each other these life lessons that need to be mastered with each other. But in saying so, these core conscious learnings, the life lessons, they won't be the same, but they are linked. They are linked. For example, I don't know if this is going to be a good example, but this is what I put down on my notes anyway, was, for example, say you're writing up your contract, you want to come in and experience what it's like to be a thief. This person wants to experience everything associated with taking from people. So what could be the learning with that? So we don't often, up until now, for many of us, we haven't really thought, oh, what's the life lesson here? So some possibilities: coming in as a person that wants to steal from everyone and thief and what have you. Maybe their life lessons are about learning about honesty, learning about generosity. Maybe they're to learn how to give to others. Maybe they're to learn self-respect, self-esteem, learn and feel what it's like to experience maybe guilt and shame, because maybe they'll experience guilt and shame from what they're doing, etc. But on the reverse of that, say a person that's writing up their soul contract and they say they want to be a victim. They want to learn what it's like and feel what it's like to have everyone take from them from life. So in that victim position and role, what could be their learning? Maybe they need to understand why they are giving and what's the expectation. Because if they're feeling like everyone takes from them, then they're obviously people that are giving, but they're giving not from a place of unconditional giving. They're actually giving because they're giving from a place of expectation. And so their life lessons might be around, understanding what their needs are. What needs are they not meeting within themselves, that they feel that they're getting it from others if they give? And that's kind of an example. I hope it's an easy example to understand, but there will be more through my own experience that I wish to share. Excuse me. And so together, we are both the teacher and the student. We are learning through each other specific life lessons that we agreed to. And so now we need to understand that we need to observe and become aware of what our core lessons are, because that will make your life now so much easier. This is partly why I'm sharing all of this, because if you feel that you've been going through repetitive patterns of behavior, you might not have understood yet that you actually got some core lessons that you're needing to master. And the people that you're experiencing these from are just really showing that to you through their behavior, through their words, through their thoughts, however. And if it's triggering you, it's because it's triggering you to look within, not externally, because we're not meant to look at the other person and blame them. It's always been meant to look within. And so trauma is one of the largest densities that has been stored in our body. And so I want to talk and bring this part into all of this, because trauma is the external experiences that all of us are experiencing in this lifetime. And trauma is creating such density in all of us. So it's individually creating a lot of density, but it's also collectively creating a lot of density. That's why the world is so dense in all the fear and the control and the you can see the world as it is at the moment, and this is what we're being really encouraged to shift out of. But yet this trauma, which is literally only from our external experiences that we have created for ourselves, because we haven't actually processed the truth of what those experiences were showing us. And so it's energetically imprinted in our body, and it gets dense. So all the thoughts, the beliefs, emotions, behaviors, the truth of what we thought those experiences were, are energetically now imprinted within us. That's because, for one reason, we suppress most of them, because that's been our natural response, is to suppress. But it's also been, we've also been taught that we don't express emotions, we don't express our feelings, we don't, we tend to express our behaviors because we react. And so because we've been taught to believe either it's weak to express emotion, and so forth, our physical body is holding so much trauma, energetic imprints from all of these experiences, creating us to be so dense. But yet we can also hold some of these traumas can also be energetic imprints from past lifetimes. And an example of maybe a trauma from a past lifetime, an example could be that is energetically imprinted within you now. It could be, say, like in the form of in past lives where we have either been tortured, where we have maybe even drowned. Drowning's a good one. If we drowned in a past life, all right, the trauma from that experience would have created a fear. And with that fear, if, say, that we drowned and died, that fear becomes an energetic imprint. Because what I find interesting is when we come into this lifetime, for some of us, we don't know why. We either fear heights, or we fear drowning, or water. We fear water. We don't like swimming. But yet there's no tangible or, like logical reason for you to feel those emotions. So what's actually happening is That's your probably connection to a past life. It's an energetic imprint. And that energetic imprint, that gets activated in this lifetime when there's a collective paradigm. So, a collective paradigm is we're taught that water is dangerous, right? So if that then triggers that like a fear, oh, water is dangerous, it actually triggers your past energetic imprint, remembrance, that, and you sort of can tap into that energetically, and then that creates your fear for this lifetime. But in actual truth, there's probably nothing to fear if you take all the right steps to prevent it and realize that, no, hang on, if I just learn to swim and this and that, then I'm actually safe. And so these are some of the energetic imprints. They can be from torture as well, because that's a common one spoken of, that we can feel like we remember that something happened in a past life. And it's just an energetic imprint that we're tapping into based on our frequency in the now moment. So if our frequency taps into fear for whatever reason that's associated to water, then you have that remembrance. So I hope I explained that properly. So we hold collective traumas and paradigms as well, as I've kind of just mentioned. I guess past wars is another good example, because that's still happening now, right? There's a collective paradigm still playing out with war, as that's the way of being, believing that that's the way we solve our differences. We know that that's not true. So with this understanding and coming back to soul contracts, we may have chosen something very specific, a core conscious learning or a life lesson, to be energetically cleared from our body in this lifetime. And so this is where we can tap into ancestral healing, ancestral healing and past lives and karmic inheritance. So how does this maybe all link together? What could this look like for you, or how did it look for me? This is what I want to share with you. So as previously mentioned, in my work, I was noticing people having the same experiences in connection to the father and mother wounds. The patterns of were all very similar, even for myself. And so these traumatic experiences felt by people, witnessing this, and with this stirring within me my own traumas, I was looking deeper into, because I actually was surprised, to be honest. I know much of the story that I know much of the story that I guess my life lessons, but there was just something that I didn't quite pinpoint, which I have now. And this is what all part of the sharing. So here goes. So I want to now tap into a bit of my experience to try to eventually, by the end of this video, have kind of unfolded for you how it's all linked, and how it might be playing out for you. So this is my shared experience. I'm not going into the depths of it, but the main person, so I've pinpointed what I feel my life lessons are, and the main person who is my teacher is my father, and partially to some extent my mother. So the lessons from both of these teachers, because they're teachers as much as I am for them, is slightly different. One is more, I feel, my core conscious learnings, and the other is more ancestral healing of the mother line. So let's just ponder on this for a moment. Have you ever noticed within yourself how the same experience keeps playing out in your life? Have you ever noticed maybe a saying that you might say to yourself, why does this keep happening to me? So many years ago, I did actually express that many times, just like, oh my God, why does this keep happening? I don't go down that path anymore because I understand my journey. So, but what that is saying to you, that if you feel that way, well, it's a good sign, because that's probably your core conscious learning. It's your life lesson that you have to master in this lifetime. And it will keep playing out and presenting itself to you until such time as you work through it. But you cannot work through it until you absolutely become aware of it. You have to be aware of what it is. Literally, the key to your lessons. You need to pinpoint that, because you can't work through it until you're aware of it. You have to be conscious of the trauma in the experience as well, for that then to be cleared from your body. You do have to break up the trauma by feeling into all of the emotions and all the thoughts and the experiences surrounding your trauma, all the behaviors, your behaviors, their behaviors, that you're experiencing it with the person on the other side mirroring to you what you need to see. So, but what you have to too as well understand what the paradigms are. What paradigms have you created, or what maybe is a collective paradigm to that trauma? Because when you understand all of this, through all of the beliefs, the thoughts, the emotions, the behavior that you've created, then you can start to unpack it and start to work through it and release it. For example, do I give an example? No, I won't. All right. So you might be sitting there thinking, oh, it's easy for me to say all this. But I'm just like you, who has gone through all of these experiences and these traumas. And the thing I do know is it's not easy actually to navigate. It's actually really at times overwhelming. Some experiences more so than others. It's because our experiences have been so intense and hurtful. Many of our experiences have been suppressed over a long period of time. There's been many years where we formed limiting beliefs. We formed even patterns of behaviour out of our need to feel safe, but even those patterns of behaviour to keep us safe, some of them haven't been healthy. But in actual fact, in the time, that might have been all that you could have done to keep yourself safe and protect yourself. So it takes courage to let go of all of this ego safety. It's an ego safety net, which I'm going to explain more about in a minute, that is actually not working for you anymore. It's difficult to shift this stuff because we are functioning from a very dense level of consciousness. And it's challenging because we feel everything. We feel all the heaviness from those experiences. And feeling, as I've said, is not something we like to do. It hurts going through all of these experiences. It's painful. It's confronting. Yet suppressing our emotions, our thoughts, and our feelings is not helping us. We do need to know our truth so that we can let go and break free of all of this. So the one thing that we must change is through awareness. So a good place to start is to know that all these experiences are not personal. They're not personal. I did have to come to that understanding myself. And you can come to that understanding when you understand this whole journey about the soul contracts. It makes it easier for you to then go, okay, it's not personal. And when you can sort of adopt that, it's like it just you feel a bit relieved, and then you're able to start to move forward. So when you know it's not personal, it's about removing that victim mentality, because nothing has been done to us. Everything is only done for us, and that can be really hard to accept. It was for me, but it is for our soul expansion. So, what have been my core conscious learnings? Well, my core conscious learnings for this lifetime has been centered around respect, truth, and trust. So how am I, or how have I been learning respect, truth, and trust, my core conscious learnings with my father as the father-daughter roles? Well, I need to share a little bit about my environment growing up. Growing up in my environment with my parents and my siblings to some extent, I was taught that to be accepted or to even feel as good enough in this family, for one, or worthy of love, affection, or acknowledgement, that these all came with conditions. So, conditions in the sense that if you do this, you will get this. Or if you don't do this, you will get this, and so forth. The behaviour from my parents was centered around punishment, retribution, judgment, validation, criticism, blame, guilt. They're all very strong experiences, to be honest. But literally, that was my environment, a very disempowering environment. And growing up into my teens and what have you, I was never allowed to have friends. I was never, I had such a suppressed life. And everything that I did was based on conditions. Yeah, but anyway, it was the experiences that I put my hand up for with my father so that I could master respect, truth, and trust. And that understanding, to come into the awareness that everything that I was, all the experiences, it took me a long time actually to realize this. It really did. Hopefully it won't take you as long. So this environment of never feeling seen or heard, it was actually probably two strong feelings of disrespect and disregard, especially as I moved through adulthood, even to very recent, actually, disrespect and disregard. That's probably, I would say, a common denominator for me, then with many other people feeling disrespected and disregarded as human. And I can see how it impacted my life. I can see, as I looked back, how it impacted how I interacted with people, always feeling unsafe, and having not really been taught a great deal around emotional intelligence, and probably have found, not probably, I did find unhealthy ways to keep myself safe. One was to tolerate others. I actually had a very strong tolerance over time, but that then became to my detriment because I could tolerate people, whoever I deemed was hurtful towards me, because I was disempowered from being able to stand in my truth. my personal power to stand in my truth. So you can see where the truth comes through. But I'm going to explain more about that. So these experiences are no different to anyone else. It's not personal. And yes, we are all sharing these experiences. We all have felt and also created many beliefs surrounding these experiences. So all of those experiences created many disempowering beliefs of my own about myself, where I allowed the beliefs of others and the behaviours of others to dictate who I was, but it became my truth, my reality, because I knew no better. So to be able to shift out of this density, one thing in my opinion that we have to understand is who we are. We need to understand who we are. This used to come up a lot for me. I'm like, who am I? I know who I am. I'm resilient. I'm strong. I'm this. I knew I definitely knew some good qualities, most definitely, that I learnt to become. I could always become victorious through adversity. That's definite trait. But I always, so I learnt who I was, but I didn't really fully understand who I was until I started to delve into what my truth was. What values do I hold? What beliefs do I hold? Whose beliefs do I hold? That's an important one. So if I have a belief, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Is this mine? And when you look back, it's go, oh my God, no, it's not mine. It's my father's or my mother's or the church. So I had to really understand what my truth was. What did I stand for? And then I also had to understand what was I willing to accept and approve of? Was I willing to keep going down this path of being disrespected? Or what did I have to do to change this? And this was the life lesson: respect, truth, trust. I had to trust in myself, that I knew what was true for me. I had to respect myself to be able to say no and stand up to people that tried to overpower me. And so in a 3D low level of consciousness, with energetic imprints in our physical body, in our mental body, in our emotional bodies, with a dominant ego, if we have learnt that we are all these limitations of lack over a prolonged period of time, then we learn to physically vibrate in this frequency, this low frequency. It becomes our norm. We are anchored in that. That becomes our truth, even though it's distorted. And so when we keep feeling disempowered, that creates the thoughts, the emotions, and the feelings of unworthiness and unlovable and so forth. And so then we become what we think about. We actually become what we fear the most. And there is actually a saying there's a phrase, I can't remember it actually, that when we become what we fear the most, then that is the actual one thing that we must master. Anyway, so thus we've become anchored in this reality, and it is difficult to shift up and out of this, but we do always have a choice. And so the more we continue to live in these stories of limitation, we keep anchored in that reality. And so our frequency is in that reality. And so we just keep attracting those experiences. So there might not be souls that were meant to come to us, but if we are vibrating in a frequency of anger, for example, then we bring that to us in the now moment. So this is what I want to talk about now, as in, because this is what makes it hard for us to shift out of these or to master these life lessons, is the ego self. So the ego has learnt, because it's designed to protect us. So the ego has learnt and created our unhealthy safety net by this time in life. If we're similar to me in age, and you've gone through all of these experiences, man, over a lifetime, your ego has created this safety net, because that's what we know as our truth. But we needed to create that safety net. So, yeah, you needed to create, and even though it wasn't healthy, but now this is your chance to change that, right? This is your chance to break free from that. So the ego will keep showing up. So you could be a person, right? You're trying to move through all these experiences, and you do actually honestly try to shift out of these experiences, but your ego is what you're actually sort of almost fighting against, because the ego has learnt that this is your safety net, right? These stories are your safety net. This is who you are. This is your truth, and it keeps showing us when we want to change something. Your ego is going to pop up and go, oh, but this happened, remember? And you felt this, and so forth. And then you sort of tap into that and go, oh, yeah, this always happens to me. And then you just sort of sink back and think, okay, that's my norm. So that's the ego when it shows up. It's going to keep presenting itself, and it seems to present itself more strongly when you're trying to shift out of these experiences. It's like it has a strong hold on you. So it keeps showing up, showing you all past experiences of why you chose your truth, why you chose your safety net, every time you try to step out of those cycles. So that's one battle, okay? That's where you need a lot of sheer determination. It's getting warm in here, to be able to move through. So if we keep believing the ego when it shows up and shows us these past experiences, where the ego says, this always happens to me, etc., and if you believe that to be true, you're just going to keep anchoring and sort of getting sort of stuck deeper and deeper. Makes it just harder to break this cycle. Becomes a perpetual cycle that we struggle to get out of. So we're not struggling to get out of, say, like the trauma, for example. We're literally fighting against the ego. It's insane, and I'm going to explain why that is in a sec. So, and we keep falling back into these unhealthy safety nets that we've created. Oh, wow. So you can just go on forever. So like when we go to shift out of our safety nets, that's really hard to do, because you're going to have to go through a lot of discomfort to create comfort. Change cannot come about without you going through discomfort or dysfunction to get to function. That's super important to understand. It does take a lot of courage. And so the ego keeps coming in. So you're fighting against this ego. So it's important now to understand why the ego does this. So the design of the ego, or the design of the human structure, includes the soul, the higher self, the I am presence, all of our chakras, the physical body, the mental body, the spiritual body, the ego body or self, etc. So all of this was created. It was created as a navigational tool. The higher self guides us and the ego self guides us. But when we came in as humans in this density, the goal plan was through this ego density self and reality, was to find our way back home to our higher self. Because once we get home to our higher self, that is the other navigational tool that we will live our life by in a higher consciousness way of being. And so to get us through life and to that higher self connected to soul, we have two navigational tools. We can tap in, and we do at times tap into the higher self, our intuition. So literally we can tap into that. It's not our strongest. The ego is the more dominant voice in our head. And so the ego was designed and created to navigate us through our emotions and through our thoughts. They're the two main emotional bodies that the ego was to guide us. So let's just look at the higher self for a second. The higher self is our most truthful expression of our soul, and it's our inner knowingness. It is our intuition that operates from a higher frequency because it's actually closer connected to the quantum field, so to speak, and souls. We can hear the higher self as our intuition, our gut instinct, or just our knowingness. Sometimes we just know or we just feel. And so, sorry, I just saw something. It's put me off track now. So we hear the higher self as our intuition, our knowing, our knowingness, but it's not our strongest tool to navigate us, not yet anyway. And so the ego, being our more dominant navigational tool, our guide, that operates from a more dense perspective. It's operating within this duality consciousness, polarity consciousness. And we do hear the ego as an internal voice. You've probably heard it yourself, that voice that we hear within. And so us humans actually haven't lived on Earth pretty much without being navigated by the ego in a 3D vibrational frequency and reality. So humanity over time, though, because we've fallen lower and lower and lower in density, example, more fear, greed, power and control, and I guess abuse against other people, that is so dominant. That is so dominant in our lives. But what does this all mean? So if the ego is our guide to keeping us safe mentally and emotionally, helping us to navigate through life with our choices, and if the ego is our main guide at present, navigating us, and if the ego only knows the one low frequency to vibrate from, which is poverty consciousness, and keeping us safe in poverty consciousness, and remember, as I just said, the ego is our safety net. It's there to keep us safe. That's why it's navigating us. But if you include how we've lost contact with our higher self, then our safety net, as much as it was designed to keep us safe from our thoughts and our emotions, is probably not guiding us to our highest potential. So we've become lost in this then, I guess, ego self, along with the collective consciousness. And we need to get back online with our higher self. That's what we need to do now. This is what's all happening now. It means that we need to recalibrate our frequencies and raise ourselves into higher levels of consciousness, so that we don't have to exist in traumatic experiences. We don't have to experience polarity. Literally, we just need to change our stinking thinking. And so this is the now moment. It's the now moment of this human evolution of consciousness. This is the greater plan that is unfolding for us all. where we are being encouraged to be courageous, and we're going to have to, like really put in a lot of effort to be able to move out of this density, past the ego self, and start connecting and getting online to our higher self. So the only way we humans can anchor into a high level of consciousness is by choosing to release the trauma that is holding much density on this earth, individually and collectively. Because when we hold energy collectively, which is generally two things that are really prominent at the moment, it would be fear and control. That's the collective paradigm that's trying to keep everyone in this fear base, keep people stuck in their stories and because they don't want us to be empowered, right? Because once we realize our power, then all of the greed and the fear, the power, the control disappears, because it just won't exist. So these people that have been operating in that, well, their existence kind of becomes non-existent. Yeah, interesting. Anyway, so to move out of this density, this trauma that is lodged in our body, it means we need to feel into all of these experiences happening just in the now moment. So whatever is coming up in the now moment. So today, for example, when you got out of bed, did you just kind of feel like Groundhog Day? What were the thoughts and the emotions coming up for you? We need to sort of catch them in the moment and reframe those thoughts into what our truth is. We need to become aware of all of the emotions and stories potentially connected to your pain. And once you can realize or reach the realization of the truth that unfolded in each of your experiences, those moments, then you can create new truths, new beliefs, new thoughts, new emotions, new behaviors of what's going to be your truth, how you will start to live your day moving forward from that moment. So these beliefs that you create have to be aligned to your truth, your values. So for example, are you willing to accept? Are you willing to continue to accept that you're unworthy? Are you willing to accept and approve that you are unlovable in this lifetime? Are you willing to accept all the programmed beliefs that have kept you from being your most true, authentic self? You really need to understand what is going to be your truth. And you just have to take baby steps. Literally, you will get there, trust me. You will. If you're determined, you will. If you don't want these stories anymore and these experiences, you will do whatever you can to discover what your core life lessons are. For example, remember mine was respect, truth, and trust. So I have to honor that every day. I have to honor and respect myself. I have to know and believe that I am worthy of respect and being respected. I have to honor my truths and stand in my power and stand up for my beliefs and know what I deserve and what I don't deserve. I need to trust. I need to trust in everything that I know is true for me. Trust in my decisions, that if something's not feeling right, I need to trust that. That's trusting our higher selves. That's trusting your higher self, your guide, your higher self guide. And when you start connecting into there, in time, you get stronger and stronger and stronger. So going back to my experience with my father, experiences, the disrespect, the disregard, distrust, the untruths, feeling unlovable, unworthy, punishment, retribution, guilt, shame, blame. Like I had it all. I had it all. Conditions, and so forth. So if you look at all of those that I experienced, now if you look at the world and just reflect for a moment, how many other people in the world are experiencing similar paradigms? This is what I think is becoming or has become a collective paradigm. There's so many of us feeling all of these things. And if we're then say like today, if I woke and I felt unlovable, that's going to be my frequency, because if it brings in the past feelings, emotions, and thoughts and behaviors that I am unlovable, then my frequency is going to vibrate at that. And this is where energy is really important. And so if I don't immediately shift out of believing that I'm unlovable and change it and affirm all the reasons why I am lovable, then my frequency is going to remain, all right, in unlovable. And so as I move about through my day, I might experience with people, places, and things all the reasons why why I am unlovable. And this is where you have the power in every single moment. Every single moment. It's exhausting. It can be exhausting. Trust me, I know. But it does get less and less. You have, if you're desiring to be free of your traumas, you will do what your soul is calling you to do. It really is just a personal journey between you and finding your way back to your soul. It doesn't even need to be expressed. But at the moment, there's so much. Well, me as a light worker, this is why I share, because I believe I'm here to share my experiences, because I am further along on my path. And this is why I share. Not all of us have to share and feel that it becomes our work. You can actually be the light in so many ways. But coming back to empowering yourself in each and every moment, we got to raise our energy bars. We need to raise our energy bars in every moment, every single one of us, because what we're not only doing for ourselves is will have a collective impact, because more and more people, when more and more people are vibrating in a higher frequency, well, that's going to lift the vibration of the world in what we live in. At the moment, everyone's been living in this density, yes? We're all waking up because that's what we've all believed to be true. But all of a sudden, it's like, hang on, for me, I was catapulted into this when my son passed, which is 7 years next week. I was catapulted awake. Others of you will be catapulted awake as well. And that goes into another story, so I'll just leave that there. There's a reason for that, because you are meant to rise so you can help others. And if you felt like you've had a really challenging life, it's because you would have put your hand up in contract to learn specific things. And so our energy bars need to be raised with every single one of us within first, so that it will eventually have a collective outcome as we, as humanity, more and more moves into more peace, joy, love, compassion, equal sharing in this world, etc. So how do we break from these ingrained, learned behavioral patterns and connect with our higher self? Well, awareness is absolute paramount. You need to become aware. And as I mentioned earlier, you need to feel into everything. You need to observe your thoughts, emotions, behaviors. And as you're observing and experiencing, you don't have to sit for days doing this. You have to observe without attachment or judgment. attachment to the stories, and even judgment upon yourself that you can't judge yourself for what has transpired, and we can't judge others because it's not personal. If you hold any anger towards, then you still got work to do. Yeah. So you need to become aware of all your emotions without attachment and judgment. And once you realize, or come into the realization of your truth, in each moment, then you create your new beliefs, all your new thoughts, all your new emotions, everything that you want to feel and experience, all in alignment to your truth. So I've sort of come up with 4 different points. Oh my God, it is going to be a long video. Anyway, we'll keep going. I think we're getting close. I might just have to cut it off and come back to some of the ancestral stuff. Anyway, I'll keep moving. So one, where am I? So what do I want to share now? All right, so I've got this in a few point forms based on my experience to help it sort of make a bit of sense. So you need to find the common denominator in all of your experiences. So mine was respect, truth, and trust. So for many years, actually, I thought this was important. For many years, I actually thought I was to learn what self-love was so that I could express it to the world. I believe I've always expressed love to the world anyway, because it's just been innate in me. But this is important. So my core learnings was respect, truth, trust. But for many years, I thought I was actually to master self-love. And I worked on that quite a lot. And this is why I want to share this, because I worked on that quite a lot, especially through grief. That whole journey brought up a lot of my past with my family, and it also brought up abuse that happened when I was a teenager. So I thought that self-love was the thing that I needed to master. I actually was working on that quite a lot. But the thing was, the more all the work that I did do on that, it wasn't really making a huge change in my life. I was still experiencing disrespect and disregard as the 2 sort of common denominators with people in the world, I guess, in general. And that I found fascinating, because I just thought, how the hell am I frigging going to shift out of this? And I think it was because it wasn't the core learning, that I was kind of focused on the wrong area. And I wanted to share that because this could be the same for many of you. You might feel that it's one specific thing, but it was, if you look at respect, truth, trust, then self-love does come into that. You have to love yourself to respect yourself, right? And so forth. So it was really more just I don't know what I'm trying to say. It was really more just part of it. It was just part of it. We do need to see ourselves in the light of love, but it just wasn't. And this is the thing. It just wasn't the key. It wasn't the key to unlocking and shifting and being able to break free of these traumatic experiences. So it wasn't the key. The key was respect, truth, and trust. So just reflect in your life, really dig deep, especially if you go into your values. I think that will really help you pinpoint. And so all of my experiences, I observed where I was always being encouraged to respect myself by setting strong boundaries. That led me to being able to then feel safe and stand in my power. So the safety I needed to create was being able to stand in my power and express no. especially if there was something that I was not aligned to, and realizing I no longer needed to tolerate a person's behavior. And that was probably a recent learning for me. No longer, because of family, feeling like you need to stay connected to family, I tolerated. But when it's just making you unhappy, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay there. But I did because my parents are aging. I felt like they were I actually, out of compassion, tolerated. And it's just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And I'm not putting up, with the disrespect, especially when that disrespect still to this day is directed at my son, my gorgeous son up there. He's listening. I can feel him. So that was a recent thing. I was no longer going to tolerate that. And so that led me to being able to find ways to feel safe and stand in my power and express no more, realizing that I no longer needed to tolerate a person's behavior or emotional abuse. And this led me to having to trust my inner knowing, my self-knowing, that I knew what my truth was. I had to learn all of this through practice. I never got it right the first time, and I never got it right the second time or the third time. It actually took me many attempts, several attempts, to be able to feel confident and courageous in front of people that wanted to disempower me or whom I felt overpowered me. And this is where my values and beliefs became, I guess, foundational for me, because it enabled me to make decisions that was in my best interest. It gave me, it allowed me to make the truthful decisions for me and everyone involved, because I followed my values and my beliefs. But that's taken a long time to do, because my values and beliefs have changed over time. And here's a quote that I kind of wrote up recently and shared it through my Facebook post, because this came about through my most recent learnings, that if we allow unworthy influences to take up residence in our minds, our hearts, and our souls, even just a little bit, then they will eventually be our undoing. They will erode our happiness and our confidence, our vitality, and our ability to be able to be our most truthful selves. And it also then impacts our ability to fulfill our purpose. So that was powerful for me. That was my absolute knowing after my recent experience with my father, who I just couldn't tolerate anymore. And I made that decision that it's okay. I don't need to, I guess, stay in contact as such, and put myself through experiences that are just going to erode my happiness. So I made that choice, where I realized that I was tolerating, even though it was through compassion, because they're aging, and having understanding that they did the best that they could. But I know in this lifetime, I probably never get the respect. I'll never be acknowledged for who I am. They don't even, anyway, we won't go there. So the next step is to understand the paradigms playing out in each moment. You must know your truth in each paradigm that shows itself. So what's a paradigm? So I've spoken a lot about this now today, and paradigms are literally just a collective consciousness to gain information, experience through our beliefs, our emotions, our thoughts, and our behaviors, or our ways of being. It's all there to assist us to understand each of our experiences, so that we can receive information that then helps us make our choices, because we've got two choices. We can make a good choice or a not so good choice. So that's where we need to know what our truth is. Okay, are we going to hold integrity through different decisions that we make? Or maybe we're just a person that we don't really hold values and beliefs highly. We all have that choice. So that step then is being be willing to accept what is true for us in those paradigms, the thoughts, emotions, and everything that are coming up in each moment. So if the repeated pattern coming from my father was one of disrespect and disregard, we need to know what we need to be doing in the now moment. We need to understand what we need to be doing in that moment when we feel we're being disrespected, to identify disrespect and ask, what is my truth? So as you sort of understand what maybe your core lesson is, it's just like dissect it, okay? Just recently, so I was disrespected, and through that experience, I remember sitting there. I'm like, I literally in that moment, I just sat there and I went, oh my God, it's never going to change. I literally, and I was like, I could call him out on this. Is what I was processing as he was talking, and I could call him out on this, or I could just allow it to be. But I called him out on it in most loving way. I never attack. Sometimes we can, but I feel like I've come far enough in life that I don't need to attack people. I can just allow them to be as they are, because I know I can step back and know my truth. And anyway, and so I actually highlighted a couple of things, but that wasn't taken. Probably surprised him more than anything. But anyway, I stood in my truth, and I was proud of that moment. I haven't heard from them since. And so that's where we come into that choice point that I'm now moving towards. So we have that choice in front of us. Which do we choose? We have to stand in our truth. Sometimes we do actually have to have gentle aggression. Sometimes people need to hear what would be an untruth for them that would make them uncomfortable, that possibly, you're not being so nice here. So that gentle aggression is needed. You need to make that choice point, how you deliver that and how you actually move from that as well. So those choices in front of you, which do you choose? Do you choose to allow this person to continue to behave as they do and influence you and disempower you? Or do you stand in your truth and say no and have clear boundaries? And it's very hard to do. Especially now, this is where we tap back into the ego self, because now we've got the ego that's going to pop up and start presenting some of the stories. You'll hear it in your mind and you'll see it. And when you're in that moment, you're sort of battling against the ego self and trying to create your new safety net and so forth. And so just know that that's going to unfold in that moment as well, that ego self trying to keep you safe, which is what it's meant to do. But it's a little bit distorted. It's become distorted over time. So are you going to tolerate people's behaviours? Are you going to tolerate whatever experience is unfolding for you in that moment? It's not about getting even, but the thing is, to help you to move forward, if it is causing you disturbance, like I reached that point, it's just that I can't keep doing this. If it means that I don't see my parents, I pretty much had, anyway, it's okay to walk away is what I'm trying to say. When it's causing the disturbance and the hurt and the pain and disempowering you, it's okay. Even if it's family, it's okay to walk away. You never know, in time, they might start to go through their own journey and start to awaken and want to improve themselves, and they may come back into your life at some other point, which actually did happen for me. But yeah, we just need to let that one go. And then lastly is letting go. We need to let go of what does not resonate with us anymore. We need to let go of what does not belong to us, because we are picking up we're picking up collective paradigms. Sometimes they're not even ours. A great example was the other day I was driving. I actually haven't experienced anger in, gosh, many years, far out. And I experienced this frustration first, and then it was just like went to anger. It was almost like I wanted to retaliate, but I was able to actually stop and pull myself back. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And that's when I realized, because of what I understand, it's like, it's actually not mine. It's actually the person in the car in front. It's their anger that I tapped into. So you can tap into frequencies, most definitely. And so I chose immediately that I wasn't going to buy into that. And I reaffirmed what my truth was with affirmations, and kind of drove past, and then it was just all gone. So that's what happens, is when you can do this, you let go, and not buy into these stories. Let go of what does not belong to you, the beliefs, the thoughts, the frequency that you're picking up. Understand. This is all part of the journey. Feel, because we're energy. Feel what's actually happening. You can pick up the frequencies. You get better at it. I'm still practicing. So know what's not yours in the first place, and then in the letting go, yes, again, know your values, your beliefs, and your truths. In letting go, you may discover that your beliefs, this is interesting. Yeah, so I discovered this. In the letting go, you may discover that beliefs that you never knew you even held. So like one could be, I'm not capable of success. That's just a random one that I pulled out as an example. You'll discover beliefs that you didn't even know that you even held. And so you start recognizing beliefs you don't have. You recognize behaviors of your own that you couldn't see before. And you may experience for a time, actually, a lot of discomfort within your body. As you process through these emotions, thoughts, you actually can feel headaches and nauseated. You feel aches and pains. And what this is it's the trauma releasing out of your body. And so remember, in the letting go, there cannot be any attachment towards that process, any judgment in that process involved with anyone, including yourself. It is important to find a place of forgiveness and compassion for everyone involved, and have the courage to move through as an observer, to feel, to acknowledge and allow with love all of those experiences, and just let it release out of the body as it will, as you shift into higher consciousness. And then finally is anchoring in your new beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. You've got to confirm what you are no longer willing to accept, what you are no longer willing to approve of. So, for example, you might say, it's no longer acceptable for anyone to disrespect me. Or you might affirm, I am worthy of respect. You might agree and decide, because this is what I did, I am no longer willing to tolerate these types of behaviors that are causing this situation of disrespect and unhappiness. So when you can, because once you know, if you've got these key ones, you tap into this, I think you'll find a lot will shift around your life. And so affirm new affirmations of what is your truth. So I feel, so example, I am worthy of respect. It could be, I am worthy of love. I am, yeah. You can also say, I am soul. I am soul will help on an unconscious level will help you, connect to your soul more and more and more. So most of your experiences will be connected to one core. I'm going to have to wrap this up. I didn't realize it was going to take so long. Most of your experiences will be connected to one core consciousness, a one core consciousness learning as agreed in your soul contract. I think I might have to, all right, I will. I'm just going to finish up because there's a lot here that I probably tried to put too much in one video. So we will tap into the karmic side of stuff. So, all right, so we're going to affirm. So that was the 5th step. Let's just do a quick refresh. 1 was find the common denominator of your core lessons, understand the paradigms playing out and know what's true for you. Go to choice point moment, decide what step forward you're going to take, what is going to be your truth moving forward. What are you going to let go of as the 4th step? Letting go of what? What are you no longer willing to accept? And then 5, you've got to anchor in all of your new beliefs, all of your new thoughts, behaviors, and actions that you will take from that moment forward. So most of your experiences will be connected to these core conscious learnings as you agreed within your soul contract. You will have smaller ones, but not as significant. My smaller ones are more to do with my the mother line, ancestral part of my journey. So you can do. What's really important is you don't actually have to do these all of this clearing with people present. You only have to work on yourself, because your contract to those people will just fall away, even if they haven't done what they need to do. It's got nothing, that does not have a connection to you. As long as you reach your core master, your core lessons, then everything falls away, the contracts fall away, and you'll notice the behaviors of those people when they interact with you, they won't interact the same, which is amazing. So most of your experiences are connected to your core consciousness learnings. You can do this on your own. You don't need to have them present. You just need to be the observer. You need to become aware of your truths and feel. You need to feel into all of those thoughts, emotions. You just need to just feel into it and just allow it. Avoid resisting. Don't suppress. All of that stuff. Just know, for example, affirm that you are worthy of love and respect. So over time, when you continue to hold these frequencies within your body, with all of your words, thoughts, and actions, then all of these old paradigms no longer resonate with you, because you're moving higher and higher in consciousness. Your frequency is getting higher, so you're not attracting this stuff in anymore. So you will start to move more and more away from those experiences. So remember the phrase, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So I'm going to finish up now, because it's an hour and a half, or a bit over. Was karmic cycles. That is important, but I'll do that separately, because that's important. Yeah, all of that. All right, so I'm just going to finish up. So I'll finish up with this, because it did take a long time, but I hope you've enjoyed this. It's pretty in depth. Please know that you are only meant in this lifetime. Now, part of this won't make sense because haven't shared an aspect, but it will make sense in one way. You are only meant to clear and heal the traumas created in this lifetime. That's all that we ever came here to do. But that will make more sense when I deliver the other part of karma and karmic inheritance, and more on energetic imprints. So all you are meant to do is to heal the traumas created through your external experiences with your life lessons in this lifetime. And you do this by living in the now. You deal with each moment as it arises. You become the observer. You're aware of your thoughts. You feel into your emotions. You uncover your truths. You always find forgiveness and compassion for yourself and everybody else involved. Because, like you, they too are doing exactly as you are in this human journey. Every one of us is a soul in a human body, navigating both shadow and light energies of this world with the people, places, and things so that we can discover our truth of who we are, so that we can finally come home, come online, embodying our soul, embodying the soul, the soul's I am presence. We are all one. We are in this journey together. Nothing in our experiences are personal. That's a hard one, I know, for people to accept, but it's not personal. And I hope you enjoyed this message. I enjoyed bringing it to you, and I would love it if you wanted to, if it resonated with you, to like, share, or subscribe would be amazing in this. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thank you for listening. Thank you, thank you, thank you.